Okay, perfect. So I've used Zoom for probably a few years now with meetings, doing interviews, talking with clients. However, everything took a big shift in March where I teach karate. So everything shifted immediately from live to from live to Zoom classes. So I've been primarily using it for karate. And I think if I add up all my hours, I've probably used it for maybe almost 525 hours in the past year. That's just for karate teaching. I found it pretty simple. I think two reasons I was using it is one, I was more familiar with Zoom than others. It seemed like it was a little bit easier to use. The user interface was easier. You have participants in chat, you have icons. It was less resource intensive compared to like WebEx, and there was another one that I used as well. I can't think of it, but yeah, it was. And also, many of the kids in schools were also using Zoom or Google. I didn't go with Google because I think at that time, it wasn't as secure as Zoom was. They weren't able to ramp up, but I know things have changed. So, 2 points. One, it was easy to use to begin with. Kids and people were more familiar with it. And I have, about maybe 40% kids. So I wanted to make sure I found something that was familiar to them. And I think now across the board, all the kids in the school district are using Zoom. Favorite features, obviously screen share is there. Reactions, I found a way to, I guess, add in other reactions. So when I'm asking questions to kids, I can use the reactions, which is, obviously there's a check mark, there's an X. So those are helpful. One thing that I did find that it hasn't been pertinent to me, but this could be for some teachers. But again, you need to have probably two people managing some meetings, which is the slow down and the speed up. So I think that's pretty useful. I use chat. I use chat where I'll ask kids questions to see if they're paying attention, or even adults. I use it for my adults and kids classes. So I use it to kind of test engagement, ask them questions. So sometimes I'll have them physically show me a symbol with their hands or their arms, and sometimes I'll use the chat for them to type in saying, "Hey, can you give me a tip?" Or if you had to give the student feedback based on this performance, what would you give them? So definitely the chat feature is helpful. Screen share when I'm showing pictures, when I do snapshots to kind of analyze people's movements and the reactions. I don't record as much. I think that can be helpful for people if you want to play back different stuff, and obviously spotlighting and unmuting. That's been huge. I just discovered unmuting where I could unmute other people. Before I was like, oh, there must be a way. When I go to some Zoom sessions and trainings, there's a way to make sure that no one can unmute themselves. I haven't figured out how to do that, which would be great. But I did find a way where I could unmute students and telling the students, I'll be the one who unmutes you, as opposed to them running up to the computer screen and unmuting themselves. Yeah, I wish it was a little bit easier to maybe like turn on and off the chat feature, which would be good. I mean, maybe there's a shortcut for it, but it'd be kind of nice to be able to I think there's a way to hit mute where you can do like Control Alt M and it just mutes everyone. But if there's a way to kind of stop the chat completely or turn the chat on, I think it would be helpful. But again, that shortcut might be there. Just from my perspective of using it, and I work with, yesterday I had 17 kids online, and I'm doing the best I can to manage them from just kind of blurting out and stuff. So having the option to just shut the chat off would be helpful, as opposed to doing one click, two, and then three, and then four to close it out. So that's 4 clicks, times however many classes I've done. So that's probably well into the hundreds of clicks that I could have saved. I wish at the bottom where they have like reactions and recordings, I kind of wish some of those icons were maybe a little bit more prominent, or maybe have different colors. For example, recording, maybe have a green on there. I know screen share is green. Maybe have a different color, or reactions, hey, have that like a yellow color, just because, our brains are actually made for visual stimulation. So it's easier to actually see symbols as opposed to reading, but now you put the two together, you have something more powerful. So it'd be nice to see reactions, or maybe customizing them. Hey, can I customize, the bottom parts, which is like chat, participants, recording, reactions. I would say making them different colors, making them a little bit bigger, or maybe giving the option to the host to also move that bar from the bottom to the top or to the side, just like the Windows taskbar. So for example, I have a 24-inch monitor. So I have my taskbar at the top as opposed to at the bottom. So if I'm looking at people, whatever, I can kind of see it at the top. It drops down from there. So that would be kind of nice if we could change the positioning of that. But I know that's probably not as easy to do because it's, it's not as easy to do like on Windows. It's different. But I think that would be the only suggestion from there. On chats, I'm trying to think. I used another program which I thought was better than Zoom, but I haven't used it enough. It was called BlueJeans. I think it's owned by Verizon. And I used that one or two times. And I was like, wow, this is really, smooth and easy. And it seemed like it was less resource heavy than Zoom as well. I can't remember, something about it just made it just smoother and easier to use. I think it may have been the interface. It was there, but again, I would have to play around with that before I can kind of give specific reasons on why that was easier and what can be a takeaway from BlueJeans and incorporate that into Zoom.